Welcome to What If Turles Was Canon. Now, people have done this a lot, but I've decided to make it so Turles raises Kakarot. Why didn't I put that in a title? Well, because I didn't name it that on the poll, because I didn't think about doing that, so now it's too late to rename it. With that being said, let's get to it. We cut to Bardock. Bardock was about to send Kakarot off to Earth, but then he remembered something. There was a Saiyan named Turles who left the Frieza Force. He yelled and raved about some sort of conspiracy, about how you're all gonna die, you're all idiots. The King Vegeta has led you straight to the grave by working with Frieza. Then he left. Frieza forces were looking to kill him, but no one could find him, except for Bardock. Bardock knew him quite well. They used to work together before they had disagreements and he left his crew. He knew there was a little planet he'd like to visit every once in a while. It had massive trees everywhere. He was crazy. He always talked about the trees and about how they gave him power. But everyone just called him crazy. And eventually, everyone kind of forgot about him. Sure, he was still wanted and people went after him, but at this point, Turles wasn't worth much and no one took him seriously. However, this is why Bardock knew he would be safe with Turles. Since no one takes him seriously, he's just some crazy guy who talked about trees and ran off. He wasn't even that good of a warrior. He was a brilliant scientist, but his insanity got to him. Bardock would look at Kakarot and sigh. He didn't know what was on Earth, but he didn't know that Turles had a liking for him. Even though they had a fallen out, he still had a soft spot for him, so he would take good care of Kakarot. Bardock decided to send Kakarot off to the planet. As Planet Vegeta was blown up, Kakarot would land onto the planet, as Turles would walk up to it, and he would see a note that said, "Hey, I know we had a fallen out, but I decided to give you a little gift. I figured you could use some company all alone." Turles has been in on this planet for a year, trying to figure out how to harness these trees, how to make them bigger, how to make the fruits give him more power. As he looked down, he saw baby Kakarot and smiled. He would go out and start to hunt for him, and feed him, and raise him, and train him. But Turles didn't train a lot. He was more focused on these trees. He had fruit that gave him small power-ups. The energy of the trees were inside the fruit, and this gave him the energy of the land. However, he could get stronger. He can make these trees bigger. If he can make the tree turn into a parasite and eat the whole planet, he can devour the fruit and become more powerful than ever. However, no matter what he did, he couldn't reach it. He tried steroids, magic, ki, other techniques, but no matter what he did, it just wouldn't work. He would try this more and more and more. Eventually, Goku would be a kid. As Kakarot would actually be quite smart in this timeline, having Turles raise him. And Kakarot didn't really know Turles was insane. He became obsessed with the trees, but to him, this was normal. And Kakarot didn't know much about the universe, but he did know a lot about science, and he helped Turles. Eventually, Turles would be able to combine steroids with ki, and eventually make the right drug to make a tree become mighty. Turles walked up to one of the trees and says, "Are you ready, my son, for the first tree of might?" Kakarot looked up and say, "Yes, father. It's time to make the tree." As Turles grabs onto the tree and begins to put his ki into it and inject the steroids into it, at first nothing happened. Turles fell to the floor and said, "Damn it, damn it, damn it! Years and years of my life put to waste for nothing!" But then suddenly the tree began to grow as it began to devour the planet and reach almost into space itself. As Turles looked up, he began to smirk and he said, "That ki and steroids was your idea. You did it, Kakarot. Now let's devour the fruit. What do we do after this, father?" "After this, we destroy planets and get stronger and stronger until we rule the universe together." They would both fly up into the tree trunk, and with the tree trunk there was many limbs. As Turles grabbed one of the fruit and began to eat it, he fell down. As he began to breathe, his heart began to shake. As Kakarot looked up, scared for Turles, but then he got up as his muscles expanded and he felt himself get stronger. He ripped off his scouter, which is a scouter he hacked, so Frieza couldn't track him or tell what he's saying. As he threw it to Kakarot, saying, "What does it say?" He scanned it and said, "Your power level, it went up by 1,000. Turles says, "Only 1,000? Well, this planet doesn't have much to offer. There's only 2 pieces of fruit. because how barren this planet is. Only trees. The more life, the more things we can have. This planet just has trees and fish. However, once we go to another planet with more life, we should get even stronger by eating the fruit. He would throw Kakarot the fruit, and as he ate it, he fell to the floor and then got back up. His muscles expanded as he felt the power. As then Turles took some seeds, and he says it's time to go. Kakarot said, where? To another planet. They both got into their space pods and went off to a new planet. This planet so happened to be Earth, and as they landed, they so happened to land on Kami's house. As Master Roshi got out, he sensed their power levels, and he knew they were in danger, but he sensed their evil content. As he said, you'll never have the Dragon Balls. As Turles then planted the seeds, he looked and said, Dragon Balls, what are those? Master Roshi then turned buff as he did a Kamehameha. As Goku saw it and said, wow, cool move. As then he used a Kamehameha. As it blasted Master Roshi, killed him. As Master Roshi died, Krillin would run out, crying. As he looked at him, Goku walked up about to kill him, but then Krillin said, wait, I'll tell you about the Dragon Balls. You said you mentioned them. Remember, this is Kid Krillin. Kid Krillin was a bit of a prick for a while. And he would just start out training with Master Roshi, so he wasn't that heroic yet. They would agree, as Krillin would tell them everything they knew, everything that Master Roshi told them. Then, Turles would blow him up. Too bad there's not a better way to track these so-called Dragon Balls down. Oh well. We're gonna have to hurry before the planet is completely rotten because of this tree. Kakarot agreed, but the planet was so big. I mean, true, they've seen bigger planets, at least Turles have, but finding 7 tiny balls across an entire planet, even with max speed flying around, this would take a long time. Not to mention that there's many different directions, and it can be in a cave or a hole or under an ocean or a lake. It would really be impossible to get them all. As they all kept thinking and trying to search, we cut to Kami. Kami could gather up all the Z Fighters for a last stand, but that wouldn't be enough. Even with this, he thinks it might not be enough, but it's his only hope. As Kami decides it's time to fuse again with his other half. Kami would get Shen, Tien, Tao Pai Pai, and many other martial artists. And he would decide it was time. It was time to become one with King Piccolo. Even though he might lose himself a bit. Even though he might argue with him. It's the only way. As he found a rice cooker. The rice cooker that King Piccolo was trapped in. As he unsealed him, King Piccolo would walk out and look at them all angrily. What the hell do you want? Kami would say, sense their power level down there. As he pointed, he began to sense Kakarot and Turles' power level. As King Piccolo fell down, never sensing something so strong. As then he looked and saw a tree covering up the entire planet. Kami says, this planet will die, and you want to rule a planet. Well, you can't rule anything if there's nothing left. And he's gonna kill us, all of us, unless we stand together. And there's only one way we can do this, Kami said, as he put his hand on King Piccolo's shoulder. King Piccolo looked at Kami and says, yes, there is. For you, but for me, there's another option. I'm a quick learner. Suddenly, King Piccolo would use the evil containment wave on Kami, but this used up a lot of energy. Tien and Shen and Tao Pai Pai all charged at King Piccolo. King Piccolo knew that he couldn't defeat them all one by one, so he had to defeat them all at once. King Piccolo would summon all of his energy as he stretched out his 2 arms as far as he could and hit everyone into one spot, as then he shot a ki blast. This killed all of them as he fell to the floor. Using the evil containment wave and doing this massive ki blast took a lot of energy out of him. He was going to have to rest, but he was going to have to make it a short one. He needed to hurry. As then he saw Bulma. Bulma ran away as he stretched out an arm and grabbed her. Where are you going, and why are you here? You don't look like a warrior. I don't sense much strength from you. I made this thing called a Dragon Radar. It brings in Dragon Balls. Fascinating. So with this, I can search for the Dragon Balls? Thank you, Bulma. For your contribution, I'll spare you. Of course, you'll probably starve to death up here. But hey, maybe Mr. Popo has stuff for you. As then King Piccolo flew down. He was going to get the Dragon Balls for his plan. Now, he could wish for eternal youth, but that wouldn't be good enough. He probably would still die to the others. Maybe he could wish to be the strongest, but even if he did that, he didn't know if it could work. So he had to do one thing, something that he hated. He had to submit. As he brought the Dragon Balls to Kakarot and Turles, he then bowed and showed them the heads of the people he killed and said, "Hello, my new masters. How may I serve you? Please spare me. I have brought you what you need." Turles would walk closer and closer to King Piccolo until he just looked at him and smirked. "As a show of good faith, I'll let you have this wish." Kakarot looked confused. But, Turles said, now, we don't need it now that we got the Tree of Might. Soon Frieza himself will bow before us. But since that he's loyal, let's have him get stronger so he can work with us better. King Piccolo would smirk as he would summon the dragon. He would wish to have two wishes. Then he would wish for eternal youth and wish to fuse with Kami and keep his personality. King Piccolo felt his power grow exponentially, but he still wasn't stronger than the other two. However, that's okay. He'll just play the long game. Past. Turles, Kakarot, and Piccolo plundered many planets and have eaten the fruit from the Tree of Might. Their power level has increased quite rapidly, and Turles wants to stick it to Frieza himself. However, he could use more members. He would remember that Kakarot had a brother. Maybe he's with Vegeta. He didn't really know. He wanted to spy on the inside, but then he had an idea. Since Turles was a genius scientist, he could simply hack their scouters, so he had Kakarot go into one of Frieza's planets and hack into the scouters. All of the scouters use the same frequency, so he could easily hack into them all. And now Turles could listen to what they're all saying. As he would listen into them, he learned more and more about the Frieza Force. He didn't learn about Vegeta's crew. He hated Vegeta. Vegeta was the son of King Vegeta, the man who had a deal with Frieza, and the man that got them all killed. He must defeat Vegeta and Nappa, and take Raditz to join them. True, he could get the other Saiyans to join him, but Vegeta was prideful, and these royal Saiyans is the reason the Saiyan race was wiped out. Their deal with Frieza killed them. They were cowards that bowed to an overlord, and that got them killed. Well, Turles will build an empire, and Turles and Kakarot will never bow. They'll bow to no one. And they learned more and more information. Eventually, they learned about a mission that Raditz, Nappa, and Vegeta were going to go on. So they had a plan. King Piccolo, Raditz, and Turles would all go to the planet and plant the seed after they have finished wiping out the natives. Then they'll show them the real power of the true Saiyans. The lower class Saiyans, they have become more powerful than they can ever dream of. Before then, he kills them both. The plan is pretty much foolproof. So they would wait. King Piccolo taught them how to hide and sense energy without a scouter. Turles just used the scouter to hack into the Frieza Force. As they hid their power level, they would hide underground and watch the ensuing chaos, as the Saiyans would go out and begin to wipe out the civilization. They would use the moon to become a Zarus, giant beasts that could destroy anything. As they destroyed the planet, all life, Nappa, Vegeta, and Raditz would then have a campfire. As Vegeta would begin to eat the corpses that he killed, even though they were civilized, he didn't care. He would just devour them. Vegeta looked at Raditz and said, "Hey, if you want to keep on living, follow my orders better. Got it?" Raditz would say, "But sir, I followed every..." "Not fast enough," Vegeta would say as he would hit Raditz. "We needed you out there. You're a low-class runt, but I needed to draw away fire from me, the important one. When you took 10 minutes to get to me, 10 whole minutes. That took way too long on the battlefield. Do that again and I'll kill you." Kakarot didn't like to see how his brother was treated. Suddenly, the ground would shake as a giant tree would grow, and Kakarot and Turles would both walk forward. As Kakarot would say, "Hello, brother," Raditz would get up and look at each other. As then Nappa would get up and say, "It's Turles." Vegeta would say, "Who the hell's Turles?" A long time ago, there was a Saiyan scientist who started fighting and became a warrior, but he's obsessed with trees. He thought it could make him powerful. He thought it was the key to taking over the universe. Then he started questioning King Vegeta, calling him a scum, saying he's Frieza's puppet. Then he was kicked out. People tried to find and kill him, but no one could find him. Turles would smirk and say, "That's right. I was right about the king. You know Frieza killed your people. And it's all because of King Vegeta. He bowed down to him and invited him to his home. It's your father's the reason why the Saiyans are dead. Vegeta would get up and say, "Shut your damn mouth, low-class trash." Vegeta would then charge at Turles with everything he had as he tried to punch him, but Turles would simply just block it. "You're pathetic. Nothing compares to the Tree of Might, Vegeta. Your pathetic, worthless royalty genes are no match for the power of the Tree of Might." Vegeta would look at it as a tree of, but then he looked up and saw the massive tree. Vegeta looked down and said, "Damn it. So you mass engineered some sort of tree to give you power? You didn't work for it? That's pathetic. You knew you couldn't compete with my royal genes, so you had to manufacture some sort of bullshit like this." Vegeta and Turles then began to battle, but Turles began to easily outclass Vegeta. Nappa flew about to get involved, but then Kakarot grabbed his tail as he pulled on it. Nappa would then punch Kakarot. "You think that could affect me? A true Saiyan warrior like myself is not affected by simple tricks like that." Kakarot said, "That's fair. Work or not, it doesn't really matter. Even without that little trick working, you're easily gonna die." Nappa would then scan his power level. As he was suppressing it, it would only come to 2,000. Nappa would laugh. "You're stronger than your brother, I'll give you that. But you're still no match." But then Kakarot would kick him, as Nappa would fall down and spit out blood and teeth. As he looked and said, "What the hell?" Kakarot would then laugh and say, "Oh, Nappa, we can suppress our power levels at will. Let me show you the true power I am holding." Kakarot then began to power up. As his power level suddenly shot up, Nappa would be shocked, as the scouter would go up further and further and further, past 9,000, past 10,000, past 12,000. It went all the way to 30,000, then it blew up. Nappa began to shake. 30,000? How is that possible?" Kakarot would say, "Mine is at least 50,000, but 40,000? You can't be too hard on these old scouters. Such old, pathetic models. Oh well." Nappa would then begin to shake as he looked at Kakarot. "Old models? Well, As in Nappa said, "Screw you! This is some sort of cheap trick. Just like that giant tree over there. I'm not gonna fall for it. You're bluffing. I know you are." As Nappa charged at Kakarot, he would try to punch him, but he would grab one of his arms and break it. As Nappa fell to the floor, Nappa then got up and tried to kick him, and then he shot a mouth blast. But Kakarot easily deflected it without effort. Then he grabbed him and threw him to the floor, breaking all of his bones. As Nappa grew out in pain, he began to cry and scream. As Kakarot said, "That's not very heroic of you," and then he blew him up. Raditz would see this and attempt to fly away, but then King Piccolo would stretch out his arms and grab him in midair. As Piccolo began to smirk, "To be honest, you aren't that strong. You're worthless to us, but I was worthless to them, and they let me in. So, it's only fair we let you in. However, try to run and I'll kill you." He would then throw Raditz to the ground. As Raditz got up and began to shake, he saw Nappa die, and he saw Vegeta be manhandled. Raditz would just nod, as he would simply sit by. As Turles and Vegeta were fighting, Vegeta looked around. He saw Raditz betrayed him. Nappa died. He was all alone, and Kakarot was watching him. The Prince of all Saiyans, now nothing more than a dead body, to be forgotten. Once you die, Vegeta, no one will remember you, and Vegeta's legacy, the royal legacy, will die with you. Vegeta would say, "No, it won't. Screw that." As Vegeta would charge right at Turles with all of his speed and strength, as Turles would kick him back, Vegeta would fall into the floor, as then he would fly up. He could throw an artificial moon, but if he did that, they could transform too. And if they transformed, they would just outclass him. And he could try to destroy their tails, but two of them are both stronger than them, and they're on him at all times, beating him up, torturing him. Eventually, Vegeta would fly up and begin to charge a massive Gallic gun at both of them, as they would just laugh and shoot at the Gallic gun. But then, Vegeta would fly away. As Vegeta looked at them and Vegeta fought them, he learned how to suppress his ki like they did. Suddenly, they couldn't feel Vegeta's energy. They were shocked to see that Vegeta learned it so fast. Vegeta was beaten up. Vegeta had his arms broken, and Vegeta had his ribs broken. He wasn't as beat as in our timeline. He could still walk and even fly, but he couldn't move his arms. he would go into his space pod and be launched off. As Vegeta managed to escape, Turles would look up. Damn it, I can't believe he did this. He learned how to hide his power level. Oh well, it doesn't matter. Raditz, come with us. It's time you join the Crusher Corps. As Raditz joined the Crusher Corps, we cut back to Vegeta. As Vegeta was in the healing tank, eventually he would heal up, and as he got out, he knew he couldn't go back to Frieza. Not after what happened. If he told him Saiyans were rising up against him, he would simply kill him, seeing him as a threat. But then Vegeta had an idea. Vegeta had a plan to defeat Frieza and defeat Turles, and to use them against each other, and to get stronger in the process. This was Vegeta's plan. After Vegeta got out of the healing tank, he realized something. He was gonna die if he stayed with Frieza. If Frieza realized there was rebel Saiyans out there, he would get suspicious of Vegeta and kill him. And this would only manage to piss him off more about the Saiyan race, too. So Vegeta couldn't stay loyal to him. However, if he left, the Crusher Corps can just kill him, or the Frieza Force, if they hunt him down. There's really nothing he can do, but then he came up with an idea to lure them both to a plan to wipe them out. As Vegeta made sure he had his scouter on, he started to run away, as Kui wanted to talk to him. As he was running, Kui would appear in front of him and say, "Hello, Vegeta." "Where do you think you're going so fast?" Vegeta would smirk and say, "I'm going to get immortality to kill Frieza." Kui would look shocked. You what? How could you say such a thing?" "It doesn't matter, But then Vegeta would simply blow up as Kui died and said, "I'm going straight to Namek. You'll see me as the Emperor of the Universe soon enough, Frieza." As then he flew off and threw the scouter away. He did this so Frieza would know about where Vegeta's going. And he said Namek not because he knew about the Dragon Balls, because he knew there's a Crusher or member who was actually a Namekian. So he assumed the Crusher Corps owned planet Namek. So when the Frieza Force came, they would have a massive battle, and he could watch and see if he can pick off the winner. And if not, he would simply fly off. As he just flew straight to Namek. As he landed on Namek, Vegeta would learn about the Dragon Balls that they're torturing some Namekians. And suddenly he would realize what he just did, as he needed to get the Dragon Balls before Frieza can. As we cut to Frieza himself. Frieza would be on his throne, pissed off that Vegeta would betray him like this. This seems so obviously to be a trap, but who cares? Vegeta would probably just do an artificial moon, which Frieza can easily overpower. And even if Vegeta did become stronger and found some way to hide it, Frieza himself has transformation, so he wasn't scared. Frieza decided to go to planet Namek, and as he went there, we cut to Turles. Turles will be listening in on this, and he knew most likely it was a lie, but even if there was a tiny chance of this being true, he can't let Frieza or Vegeta get immortality. If so, their empire will crumble. Everything they have will be destroyed. Turles would look at Raditz and say, "It seems you'll be useful after all," as he threw him a couple fruits and said, "Eat these." Raditz says, "The fruit? Yes, it will make you stronger." Raditz began to eat the fruit from the Tree of Might, as suddenly he began to shake. His muscles began to expand, as he felt the power course through him. "So this power, it's amazing." Kakarot would look at him and say, "It is, isn't it, brother? This is the power we got for destroying planets. This is the power we got for devouring all the life forms. This is the power that we'll use to defeat Frieza. We've all been training and eating some fruit, but I don't know if it'll be enough." Turles would say, "We're gonna have to find out now. And maybe if we get this wish, or whatever, we can become immortal." But then, suddenly Turles had an idea. There would probably be Dragon Balls on Namek, since, the Dragon Balls were on Earth. So, they could probably stop them from getting the Dragon Balls. Vegeta was actually telling the truth, whether he knew it or not, as they all decided to travel to Namek. As they went to Namek, Frieza would begin looking around, as he would try to get the Dragon Balls. Vegeta would hide, waiting for him to collect them all so they could steal them, just like in Canon. As Vegeta waited, however, the Crusher Corps arrived, and they wanted to get down straight to business and take on Frieza, but before they could do that, they had to take over all his guards. They had a plan, however. They sent King Piccolo off to find the Grand Elder. As King Piccolo began to sense energy level after energy level, and eventually he found it. As Nail looked at him and said, "You're quite evil for a Namekian. Why are you here?" I want to protect the Grand Elder. If he dies, we can't use the Dragon Balls. And we are your planet's only hope, even if we are a bit evil. We... That's right, I belong to the Crusher Corps. Now, let me in, pathetic Nail, before I destroy you, and make myself come home. As Nail was about to fight, would look at it and say, let him in. Nail would say, but sir, no, let him in. As Piccolo walked in, he would say, do you know how to hide your power level? Yes. Well then, why the hell are you here? Kinda obvious where you're at. We need to find you a better hiding spot. If you die, the Dragon Balls will go away. Don't worry, we'll stop them all here, and we'll wish back everyone. Guru would say, you can only wish one person back at a time with these Dragon Balls. Piccolo looked a bit shocked and said, why the hell would you make it that way? King Piccolo didn't care about the Namekians himself. However, he did want to wish all of them back to life, and then wish to forcibly fuse with all of them to gain all of their power and to keep his personality. If he managed to do this, he could overthrow Turles and everyone. However, this was a dud. There was no way he could achieve his goal now. It was squashed. However, he had a new plan. Vegeta hated them all. And Piccolo would ask, how many wishes does this orb have? The Grand Elder Guru would say 3. This intrigued King Piccolo. Maybe he could betray them for Vegeta, and him and Vegeta can rule the universe. Temporarily, of course, until King Piccolo got rid of him. After all, an enemy of my enemy is my friend, and he was tired of being told what to do by Turles. However, that would have to wait, as they needed to take down Frieza first. As Vegeta was hiding in the shadows, and Frieza was gathering more and more Dragon Balls, they waited until he almost gathered them all, as then it was finally time for them to strike. As Turles would look at them and say, do you know the plan? King Piccolo would nod. The plan was for Piccolo to come in, turn giant, and distract them. So then, Turles and the others can steal the Dragon Balls. And then they would all join in for a battle. As suddenly, as Frieza went in his spaceship, the ground began to shake, and King Piccolo fired a ki blast from his mouth, killing everyone as he turned giant. Frieza, get over here! I'm gonna kill you for murdering my people! As Frieza flew in and said, well, isn't the little Namekian that could? Or should I say, big Namekian? Frieza then looked right at King Piccolo and said, you think a giant green man scares me? As then he would knock him to the floor. As they both began the battle, his giant form didn't make him stronger. In fact, it actually did the opposite. It didn't make him weaker, but it made him a huge target that gave him a big disadvantage during this fight. As Frieza was easily able to hit him with everything he had, causing Piccolo to be, let's just say, on the back foot a bit, to say the least. As that was going on, Turles and the others gathered the Dragon Balls and brought it back to their base. Then they left. As Vegeta was hiding, he saw them, but there was Nail there too. He could sense that Nail was stronger than him. This pissed him off. However, Vegeta had a plan to defeat him. He was going to have to use his Rosaru form. And since they're all going to fight Frieza, they would be distracted enough for him to use it. Vegeta would wait until the battle began. He could feel their energies going at it, as then he flew up an artificial moon and became a great ape. As he would rip open the tunnel so he can walk in, Nail looked at him and said, so you're a Saiyan. I've heard legends of them, but I've never seen them in person. What do you want? I want the Dragon Balls, so I can become immortal, so I can get my revenge, so I can show the universe the great Prince Vegeta. Nail looked at him as they both began to battle each other. As they both started fighting, we cut to Frieza, as suddenly giant apes would all surround Frieza and blast him with ki blast. As this actually started to damage him, Turles laughed, says, your time is over, Frieza. As Frieza looked at him and said, no, it's not. And since I don't want this video to go on forever, Frieza just transformed straight to his final form. As then they began to outclass all 3 of them. As Frieza would cut off all their tails with a death slicer as they fell to the floor. And King Piccolo would transform back to his base form, no longer wanting to be a big target. As Frieza began to laugh, you monkeys honestly thought you can beat me just by turning big and scary? You're Frieza, Emperor of the Universe, and some big dumb ape will not cause me to die. As suddenly Raditz would charge in, as Frieza would grab him by the neck and snap it. As Kakarot saw his brother die, he wasn't too close to him, but he was still his brother, and they still built some sort of a bond. Kakarot would yell, "Frieza!" as he charged, similar to how his father did, but he would never know that. Frieza would kick Kakarot to the ground. As this was going on, King Piccolo would jump into the water and swim away, escaping. As we cut back to Vegeta. Vegeta would kill Nail, and he was about to use Dragon Balls, but he didn't have the password. He would yell angrily. But then, King Piccolo would show up behind him saying, "I have the password, and I have an idea." Vegeta would begin to look over as he would ask what it was his idea. "I can give you the password, and we can both become immortal, and we could kill them." Vegeta would nod. As Vegeta and King Piccolo had their differences, but King Piccolo just wanted to cause death and mayhem, and he didn't want to be told what to do. And even though Vegeta wasn't really too fond of Namekians, he did respect King Piccolo's drive, and he really needed him, and this was the only way to get what he wanted, so he had reluctantly agreed. As they summoned the dragon, they wished to be immortal, as then Vegeta killed the dragon, as suddenly Turles would look up and say, "No, Vegeta must have got the wish, but we had Nail guard it. How could this be? He must have became an Azaru." As Frieza said, "The wish, But then Frieza would look shocked, as he realized Vegeta was immortal. This would piss Frieza off beyond end, as suddenly Vegeta and King Piccolo would both fly in. As Vegeta would say, "Hey, bastard Frieza, you ready to die?" Frieza would then look irritated, as then he smirked. "You're an idiot. Both of you are idiots. You'll be punished for all eternity, floating through space." As suddenly Frieza would fly towards them, as he punched Vegeta and King Piccolo, sending them flying up, as they would shoot a ki blast falling back down to the planet. Frieza would fight them both. As the battle continued, Frieza had a plan. He would have knocked them out into space and hope they can't come back. He didn't know how the immortality thing worked. Maybe you just die and come back. But Frieza's only hope was to knock out into space, and eventually he did it, as King Piccolo and Vegeta would die and come back over and over and over again. Immortality is just a resurrection. At least in this story it is. As then, Goku and Turles both charged at Frieza and hit them with everything they had, but it wasn't enough. Frieza began to torture them, humiliate them, break their bones. Even with all the fruits they've eaten, it wasn't enough to defeat Frieza. As Goku looked up and said, "It was an honor fighting for you, father." Turles said, "It was an honor fighting with you too." As suddenly, Frieza would step on Goku's neck, snapping it, or at least making it look snapped. Goku looked dead, but he was actually paralyzed. Turles would look at Goku, and emotions would start to come from his body, as he actually cared about Goku. Goku was there for him for a long time. Even though the fruit plan didn't work, it would have if he stayed eating fruit long enough. And Goku was there for all of it. Emotion starts to go through his body. As Turles began to scream, the entire planet shook as he became a Super Saiyan. As Frieza saw Turles, he would begin to walk back scared, said, What are you? "I am the legendary Super Saiyan, and I am the ruler of this universe." As he fired a ki blast, Frieza would fire a death beam. They would both hit each other as the beam went straight to Frieza and killed him. As Frieza was dead, Turles looked at Goku and picked him up. He could feel his heart beating. He quickly rushed over with him in a spaceship. Meanwhile, as Vegeta and King Piccolo would fly out in space, dying and being resurrected, a spaceship would come for them months later. This spaceship would be King Cold's spaceship. You cut to King Cold. King Cold would see Vegeta's corpse, and he would see King Piccolo's corpse. He was confused to see why Vegeta was there, but he didn't really care. But then he saw him move a bit, and this shocked the hell out of him, as he couldn't believe that it seemed like they were alive. How could this be? They're in the vacuum of space. Saiyans can't breathe in space. King Cold decided to let them in to investigate. As they both landed, King Piccolo and Vegeta got up. King Cold would look at them both and said, "How did you two survive?" Vegeta, since immortality is just permanent resurrection, would actually be able to get a Zenkai boost, so
Vegeta would be a lot stronger, probably strong enough to defeat King Cold. However, he was not used to using his body since he died and came back to life. So as King Cold asked what happened, Vegeta would look at him and say, "I sipped the serum of immortal life," basically lying. I didn't know what it was. I was trying to drink water. Then Frieza came by and we tried to give it to him, but he was killed by the Crusher Core. King Cold was suspicious. However, he decided to try to find Frieza. As he landed on Namek, Frieza's body would still be there, chunks all over the floor, as he would pick him up and put him in a healing tank, then try to rebuild him into a mech. Vegeta knew he couldn't let him rebuild Frieza, so he blew up Frieza as King Cold looked in shock. How could you, Vegeta? You're an idiot. This will be your death." As he flew right at Vegeta, Vegeta would smirk and let King Cold hit him. As it did nothing, as Vegeta began to heal, he laughed and said, "I am the immortal Saiyan, a god." As then Vegeta punched a hole in King Cold's chest. Interesting, seems I still get Zenkai boost when I die. Well, months of dying on end made me way stronger than you. As then he blasted a hole in his chest, killing King Cold.
As King Cold fell to the floor, he would slowly die. Vegeta would laugh. As then, he would tell King Piccolo they need to fall back, build up an army. King Piccolo would smirk and say, "You have Zenkais, I have another way of growing powerful." As he would shoot out eggs, these eggs would turn into weird demon-like creatures. Then he would absorb them, manage to grow in power. Vegeta would smirk and say, "Oh, that's quite unique." Piccolo could fuse with his offspring and give him power. Why he didn't do this in the original series? Well, because the whole fusion thing wasn't established. But if he did, he could defeat Goku. Think about it, that could have happened. Anyway, they went off to a faraway world, and King Piccolo would begin to spurt more and more offspring, building up an army, and infusing with many of them to increase his power level. As then we cut to Turles, who brought Goku to a healing tank and would eventually fix him.
As Goku came out healed, he would smirk at Turles, saying, "I couldn't see much when I was paralyzed, but I saw your hair turn yellow. Does that mean what I think it means?" Turles would smirk and nod. As he turned into a Super Saiyan, it means I have achieved the legend. The fruit has made me stronger, but nothing can make me as strong as you made me strong, Kakarot. Let's train and get you to Super Saiyan. Kakarot would nod. As then Turles took over Frieza's empire and began to rule it with an iron fist. The armies bowed down to him, and he was going to rule this universe. Little did he know, however, Vegeta and King Piccolo were preparing to attack them and take the universe for themselves. Months would pass. Turles and Goku were training hard. Goku was trying to unlock Super Saiyan, but he just couldn't do it. Well, Vegeta heard rumors about the Super Saiyan transformation that Turles had. This pissed him off, and he wanted to achieve it too, but no matter how hard he trained, he just couldn't reach it. He thought maybe fighting Turles himself would make him reach it. So, Vegeta would decide to try to find himself on Yardrat with King Piccolo. He would train and learn the instant transmission and other abilities. Vegeta knew that he had to change his fighting style. He was still evil, and he still would kill people, but just using pure anger wasn't good enough. He was going to have to use precision. He was going to have to change the way he fought, change the way he thought, so he can defeat them both. As Vegeta meditated more and more and more, he then got up and then prepared to fight back. It was finally time for Vegeta to defeat them both. As Vegeta and King Piccolo got ready, it was time for them to assault the capital planet. We cut to Kakarot, who's been training non-stop. He's even been eating some fruit, but it doesn't give him the power that it used to. The power that it feels coursing through his vein feels like nothing. It used to be such a big boost, but the stronger you are, the less that boost seems to be. As suddenly, Kakarot would pass out from training. Turles would put him in the bed and smile, caring about him. Turles and Kakarot's been through a lot together. Now they can finally rule the universe together. Suddenly, though, the entire planet would begin to shake. As Kakarot would wake up, they would hear screams. As they walked out, they saw a demon army destroying their soldiers. As King Piccolo and Vegeta landed in front of them, they both looked at each other. "Hello, are you ready to bow down to your new overlords?" Kakarot would say, "How did you get out of space?" King Cold saw us and was confused on how we are alive, so he picked us up. And with me dying over and over again, I got a massive Zenkai boost. King Piccolo would say, and I managed to have offspring after offspring, and fuse with many of them, so I got a boost too. Even with that pathetic Super Saiyan form, you're no match for us. Turles would transform into a Super Saiyan, say, immortal or not, you're no match for me. As they started to fight, Kakarot started to fight King Piccolo, as King Piccolo started to smirk and laugh as they battled. What are you laughing at? King Piccolo would say, you honestly thought we would pick a fight with a Super Saiyan without a plan? Everything's gonna come down smoothly, trust me. But for you, Kakarot, it's over. You had a nice run, controlling the universe. You even got to reunite with your brother, even if that was short-lived. But you're gonna die here. Your story ends here. Kakarot would say, shut up. As King Piccolo and Kakarot started to battle each other more and more and more, they would push each other further and further. As Kakarot would feel himself losing. He was stronger than King Piccolo, but he was starting to run out of stamina. He kept blowing him up, destroying him, but he just healed instantly, resurrected. No matter what he did, this would happen. And Turles was having the same problem with Vegeta, but each time it happened, Vegeta got stronger, stronger, and stronger. So, Turles didn't know what to do, but then he had an idea. He was going to have to launch him into the sun. So as he started to charge a massive ki blast, suddenly, King Piccolo would appear behind him and start to use the evil containment wave on Turles. This shocked Kakarot, and he managed to seal Turles up. King Piccolo would say, if we can't beat a Super Saiyan, trap him. As then, King Piccolo looked at Kakarot and said, it's over, Kakarot, you're going to die. As then Vegeta started to walk up towards him. Kakarot began to shake angrily, as this was it. They trapped his mentor, they trapped his father, and they were going to kill him. But he wouldn't let this happen. He can't let this happen. Turles has always been there for him, and he's not going to let him down right here, right now. Kakarot then began to yell at the top of his lungs. The entire ground shook. Demons flew in to try to kill him, but Kakarot would simply move his hand, cutting off their heads, as suddenly his hair started to stand up, and it turned bright yellow. Kakarot looked at both of them. King Piccolo said, no matter, I'll just seal him up too. But then Kakarot would fly up and hit King Piccolo with a Kamehameha, launching him straight into the sun, where he would burn up and come back for all eternity, suffering the worst pain forever. As then Kakarot looked straight at Vegeta. Vegeta said, Super Saiyan or not, I am Vegeta, the Prince of all Saiyans. I am immortal. I should be a Super Saiyan, not you two, not low-class scum. As he would charge at Kakarot, but he would simply kick him, knocking him back. He would do this over and over and over again as Vegeta got up again and again and again. This started to piss Vegeta off as he started to charge a Gallic gun right to Kakarot's face. Vegeta's Gallic gun would hit Goku's Kamehameha as they pushed with everything they got. Vegeta pushed with all of his Zenkais. Vegeta pushed with all of his might. As he yelled, his hair started to flicker yellow, but he couldn't unlock Super Saiyan fast enough, as Kakarot's Kamehameha engulfed him and launched him into space, where he would die and come back, hopefully forever, as the ki blast hit him and caused him to travel. As then Kakarot would walk up and unseal the canister, causing Turles to come back. Turles would say, what the hell was that technique? Kakarot would look and say, it doesn't matter. I took care of them. Turles would look and say, you did it. You achieved Super Saiyan. I'm proud of you, Kakarot. Or should I say, son? They would both laugh together as they walked away. As then we cut to Vegeta. As the ki blast would launch him into a planet with atmosphere, he would get up, no way out. Vegeta would start to scream. He became immortal, but it still wasn't enough. He trained so hard, he died over and over again, suffered pain imaginable, but it wasn't enough. As he began to scream, his hair turned yellow as he achieved Super Saiyan. Years would go by. Kakarot and Turles would rule the universe with no threat. Everything seemed peaceful. However, one day, Supreme Kai Shin would walk up to them. As Turles looked at him and said, who the hell are you? Supreme Kai Shin would look and say, listen, I don't like you two, but I need your help. We need your help to defeat Majin Buu. Kakarot and Turles both looked at each other. Ever since they took over Frieza, they've seen the files. They've heard about Majin Buu, the one person Frieza himself would never fight. But they're way stronger than Frieza now, so they should easily be able to take over Majin Buu, right? Right? As then, they looked back at Supreme Kai Shin. Kakarot would say, alright, let's do this.
As Shin would nod, Kakarot and Turles would both go down to Earth. As they landed on Earth, they would begin to look around. They haven't been to it ever since they wiped out most of the life there, planting a tree as it devoured the life and force of the planet and eating the fruits and getting the Dragon Balls. Life was able to rebuild on Earth, but very slowly. The people were reduced, but there were still people on Earth. They did survive somewhat, but no one forgot that alien invasion. As Turles and Kakarot were both there, they needed to stop Majin Buu, so Supreme Kai Shen would wait to try to have them steal their energy and lure them in. And eventually that would happen. As a man would try to run up and stab Kakarot, but Kakarot would turn around and blow him up, as the other one ran and led them straight towards Babidi's base. As then they would go inside. Shin warned them not to. He said it was probably a trap, but they didn't listen. As they entered Babidi's spaceship, the doors were locked and they couldn't enter. Turles suggested they just blow their way through, but Supreme Kai Shen warned them not to, saying it could release too much energy and bring back Majin Buu. As then Turles look at him and say, "Do you know who I am? I am Turles, a powerful, strong Saiyan. You think that could mess with me? I do not care about this Majin Buu. I'll just destroy him on sight." As suddenly, Pui Pui would walk up and look at them. Hello. As then Kakarot and Turles both looked at Pui Pui. Turles would smirk and say, "Is that it? That's what you brought, Babidi, this weakling?" Pui Pui would say, "Weakling, I'm going to make you eat those words." As he would charge, Turles would simply punch him, knocking him down. As he would get back up, Turles would then begin to laugh and say, "Go away before I kill you." People would say, "You dare mock me?" As he would charge towards Turles, Turles would say, "I guess I gotta kill you now." Turles would begin to dodge all of their attacks, and even more, he would begin to play with Pui Pui. He would begin to torture him, beat him, hit him in his pressure points. As Pui Pui was on the edge, he would beg for mercy, as suddenly Babidi would make them appear on his home planet. As Pui Pui got up and began to laugh, "You may have been stronger than me before, but this planet has 10 times normal gravity, and I get 10 times stronger. You'll be no match for me." Turles would look at him and laugh, say, "If it was 100 times normal gravity, maybe you'd stand a chance. But 10 times, I don't even feel it." He looked at him and said, "You're a liar." As he charged, Turles would simply punch a hole in his chest and blow him out, killing him. As the next match was Goku versus Yakon. Yakon would walk up to Kakarot and the others and begin to laugh. "You think you can defeat me?" As they both started the battle, suddenly Babidi would make it all dark. As Kakarot would still be able to punch him, he would say, "How can you do this? I can sense your energy, and you smell awful, like a pig. I can easily defeat you. You're nothing special, Yakon. You're just a big, fat, ugly, smelly oaf that deserves to die." As Yakon started to panic, Kakarot would turn Super Saiyan to finish him off, but then Yakon would absorb all the energy. As then Kakarot smirked and had an idea. He would turn Super Saiyan 2 and begin to feed him more and more and more ki. As Yakon got bigger and bigger and bigger, he blew up. As then they advanced to the final stage, and as they were there, two people would walk out, Deborah and Vegeta. Kakarot and Turles would both look at him and laugh. "So the Prince of all Saiyans now nothing but a servant." Vegeta would then get angry as he turned Super Saiyan 2. "Servant, I am the one with the power here. I am the one with the strength." Deborah would say, "Easy, they're just trying to get to you." As then he would grab Deborah's arm and say, "Shut up," and throw him against the wall. Deborah would get back up bleeding as this pissed him off, but he didn't want to show it. Vegeta would say, "Now, you fight Kakarot. Me and Turles have a score to settle." As Deborah says, "Don't tell me what to do. I'm the great Demon King." As Vegeta started to charge a ki blast, I said, "Fight him." As then Deborah would fight Kakarot, and Vegeta would fight Turles. Vegeta was still immortal, however, so there was no way Turles could kill him. And Deborah was pretty strong. Kakarot was still a lot stronger, but he was able to hold his own. This was building up more and more and more energy to unleash Majin Buu. Babidi began to laugh as he collected more and more energy. He felt it getting closer and closer and closer. As Shin looked and said, "Damn it, this will be bad." "Vegeta,
I don't know what type of person you are, but if you're still in there, don't let him control you. I've heard you're prideful, and Vegeta would say, shut up, he doesn't control me. This is all a part of my plan. I need Majin Buu to be brought back. They would all look confused. Why? Vegeta would laugh and say, so you can help me with something, of course. As in, Kakarot would
his energy into a Kamehameha. Kamehameha. As he put all of his energy to that blast, Dabura would blast back with his own ki, but he would start to get pushed back. As Dabura would look at Vegeta and say, please, please help me, Vegeta would laugh and say, no, I don't really need you. You can die for all I care. Dabura would say, but we serve. I don't serve anyone but myself. As suddenly Dabura would be engulfed in ki, as he evaporated, being destroyed. But that unleashed enough energy to bring back Majin Buu. As Majin Buu came back, Vegeta would fly towards Babidi. And Babidi would say, ah, Vegeta, you're just in time. But then, Vegeta would grab him by the neck and snap it, killing Babidi. As Majin Buu came out, Vegeta would sigh. He wasn't really what he was expecting, but he would say, do you want to play a game? Buu would say, Buu, like game. Help me kill these guys. Okay.
Majin Buu would then begin to fight Turles. As Vegeta fought Kakarot, he would look and say, you're the man that turned Super Saiyan, the man who launched me out into space. However, I managed to come back. How does that make you feel knowing I came back stronger, knowing I came back better, and knowing that you cannot get rid of me, Vegeta, the Prince of all Saiyans? Kakarot would say, how does it feel knowing your title means nothing, and you're Prince of no one? Vegeta would yell, shut the hell up, as he would punch Kakarot. As the battle continued, Vegeta started to get the upper hand, as Vegeta started to pummel Kakarot. As Turles tried to get involved, Majin Buu would begin to beat him up. Supreme Kai Shin would see this as a losing battle, as he would yell at them to run to him. As they ran and grabbed him, he Kai'd them away. Vegeta would look and say, no matter, they'll come back later. Saiyans are many things, but coward is not one of them. Majin Buu, you want to have more fun? Majin Buu would agree, as Vegeta would go on a rampage on Earth. Vegeta wanted to use Majin Buu to take over the universe and get his revenge. As then we cut to Kakarot and Turles. Kakarot and Turles we brought to the Supreme Kai world. As Supreme Kai Shin said, what now? Turles would say, Vegeta is immortal, and Majin Buu is more powerful than anyone I've ever seen. However, there should be a way to defeat him. Shin would not offer to unlock their potentials. Even though he could do it and make them a lot stronger, they were pure evil. Instead, he would listen to their plan. There's something called a time chamber. One day out here is a year in there. However, it's destroyed from the inside or the outside. You can never leave. Are there time chambers on other planets? Shin would nod and say yes, as their plan was to lure Vegeta and Majin Buu to a time chamber, but they're going to have to transport them there. So, after some hesitation, they would be teleported back down. As Vegeta and Majin Buu were having fun destroying a city, suddenly they would appear behind him. Vegeta would say, are you ready to fight, coward? He would say, yeah, but let's fight on another planet. He would look confused and say, why? Because I want to take over this planet, and I don't want all the civilians to die. I want them to know who rules them. Vegeta would scoff. He didn't really care, but an excuse to fight was an excuse to fight. And even if it was a trap, he was immortal, so he wasn't scared. Vegeta would agree, as Shin would Kai them to another planet with a time chamber. As then they both began the battle. As they fought, Vegeta and Majin Buu started to win. As they started to win, they knew what to do. They pretended to run away. As they followed them into a room called the time chamber, they would continue running. As Majin Buu and Vegeta would get their dukes up, Kakarot and Turles would then fly back as fast as they could. As Vegeta and Majin Buu would follow them, they would get out just in time and blow up the time chamber, trapping them forever. Or at least so they thought. Vegeta and Majin Buu would be trapped as Vegeta would fall to his knees and scream, no! As the entire reality would start to shake. If he screamed just a little bit more, he could have got out, but Vegeta didn't know that. Majin Buu would say, so it's just us forever? I think you should become one with Buu then. Vegeta would say, one with Buu, what do you... But then suddenly Majin Buu would absorb Vegeta and become Majin Vegeta, true Majin Vegeta. As then he would stay into the time chamber. He knew there could be a way out, but it would take a while to find it. As they thought, they trapped them forever. Little did they know, all they did was give Buu more time to get stronger. Beerus would be sleeping, as he would be dreaming of a powerful warrior, dreaming of someone who can actually give him a challenge, someone who can actually give him a fight, a Super Saiyan god. As Beerus kept on dreaming, a weird purple figure, no, pink figure would appear in his dreams from time to time. Eventually, Beerus would wake up. After he sat down in the bath, he began to think more and more and more about the Super Saiyan God, but he couldn't place his finger on who he was. Who was this character with this red hair? He was so mysterious, so strong. He just couldn't place it. As he began to sit down and continue to think more and more and more, eventually he got it. A Super Saiyan God, that's what it was. He would tell Whis, and Whis would just simply laugh. As Beerus would say, "Stop laughing, show me what happened." Whis would show him everything about how Turles was the one who defeated Frieza, how Vegeta became immortal. This shocked Beerus. Usually someone becoming immortal is against, galactic code, and you should probably erase him. But Vegeta's trapped in a time chamber, so he can't really do anything about it, unless he tried to go into that dimension, but there's really no need to do so. And he would have to fix a time chamber to even go in there, so it's kind of like a big hassle. He decided just to go pay Turles a visit. As Beerus left, we cut to Turles. Turles will be training with Kakarot. And Kakarot and Turles, even though they both reached Super Saiyan 3, they've hit a wall. There's a barrier beyond this, beyond their current limit, but they can't reach it, no matter how hard they try. Little did they know, someone was about to help them. As suddenly, Beerus would land on Turles and Kakarot's capital planet. As he looked around, he would say, well, well, well. Quite impressive. You managed to build an empire. I never thought you Saiyans would have the goal to defeat Frieza. Serves me right for underestimating you two, I guess. Kakarot would look and say, who the hell are you? Beerus would look at him and say, maybe I should teach you some manners. I'm Beerus, a god of destruction. Suddenly, Kakarot and Turles would begin to shake. They read about the two people Frieza could never fight, Majin Buu and Beerus, a god. And since Beerus was a god of destruction, he must be a lot stronger, but they're stronger than Majin Buu now. Surely they can defeat him. Beerus would say, I came here for a Super Saiyan god. They would both say they don't know anything about a Super Saiyan god. However, Turles would get up and say, if you want a good fight, all you had to do was ask me, as he smirked. Beerus would say, is that a fact? Yeah. Why don't you spar with us? See how strong you really are. Testing a god? How foolish. Alright, I'm bored. So, let's do it. Not like I can lose much. Turles would then look at him and say, really? Alright, Beerus, I'll show you the power of a Saiyan. As suddenly he would turn Super Saiyan 3. Then Kakarot would do it also, as they both charged at Beerus and punched him with everything they had. But Beerus just looked at him and said, is that it? Well, you are both disappointments. As he flicked them both away, they both got up and began to yell. Turles would say, how dare you do this to me? I am a true-blooded Saiyan. I am Turles, a great and powerful warrior who invented the Tree of Might and conquered many planets and was the one to kill Frieza. As he charged up a ki blast, he shot it right towards Beerus. As Goku charged a Kamehameha, hitting him with it. But it did nothing. Beerus would look at them both as he would start to charge energy, thinking about destroying this planet right here, right now. But then he had an idea. Hey, Whis, you think you can train these guys to have God Ki? Whis would look and say, yeah. Excellent. Even if there's no Super Saiyan God, we'll just give these guys God Ki, and they'll be like a Super Saiyan God. As then Beerus would uncharge his ki blast, Turles would say, we have an empire to run. I'm not sure we can. But then Beerus would grab him by the neck and say, we'll have someone run it for you. I know you have people inside of your empire. Besides, you don't want me to erase you, do you, Turles? As Beerus looked straight into Turles' eyes, Turles would simply nod no. As Beerus would bring them both to his planet, and Whis would begin to train them both. As Whis would start to train him, he would teach him how to use God Ki, but not only this, but how to fight better, how to be more relaxed, and how not to be so on the edge. Whis would look over and say, Turles, when you fight, you're always on the edge. You're always overthinking everything. You need to let go. Let your instincts go in. Turles would say, alright, and you, Kakarot? Sometimes you'll think, sometimes you won't. Your fighting style is so sporadic. Why is that? Kakarot would look up and say, well, I suppose that's because of all the different people I fought, and how for a long time I didn't really have a fighting style. I just relied on raw strength, and I used the fruit to get stronger. Ever since I've been fighting, I've been trying to get one, but I really don't have one. So you don't have a fighting style. Makes sense, you've been relying on strength for so long. Let me teach you how to use one. As Whis would develop Kakarot's new fighting style, and Turles would begin to fight less and less tensed up, allowing his movements to be faster and more defined. As the months pass, eventually they would unlock the Super Saiyan God transformation. As Beerus would say, are you ready to fight me finally? Are you ready to see if the Super Saiyan God is strong enough to defeat a god of destruction? Kakarot and Turles both nodded. As Turles turned into a Super Saiyan God, so did Kakarot. As their shiny red hairs flowed, Beerus would smile, being so proud of what he did, being so proud of what he could see. Beerus would say, I'm proud of you two. You've come a long ways in only a short couple of months. Well, are you ready to begin? They would nod. As they would both start to fight Beerus, and Beerus would hold back, but he would still have some fun. Beerus hasn't fought anyone with God King in a long time. After all, he can't really fight his brother, because then he could destroy the entire multiverse. As Beerus, Kakarot, and Turles both fought each other, Turles and Kakarot would start to begin to grow, as they eased more into their powers, more and more and more, as their strength grew. Beerus would start to look at them both. Not bad at all. However, your strength is nothing compared to mine. And if you're gonna fight like this, it's gonna be over. Beerus and Turles looked at each other, as then Kakarot looked at Beerus, and they both said, if we work together, maybe we can defeat you. As they would start to hit Beerus together, every punch was followed by 2 fists. Every ki blast was followed by 2 blasts. Beerus, Turles, and Kakarot were having a fierce battle, and every time Kakarot hit Beerus, Turles would hit him. Every time Turles hit Beerus, Kakarot would hit him. They would do the same thing to Beerus again and again and again and again. Beerus was starting to get annoyed, so then he summoned a giant energy ball as he threw it at Kakarot, and before Turles could fly in front of the way, he would kick Turles out of the way, and they would start to battle him. As the energy hit Kakarot, Kakarot would start to push it back, but he felt himself becoming weaker and weaker as suddenly he would absorb the energy ball and fall back down to the planet. As Turles looked down, he said, what the hell just happened? Beerus said he absorbed the energy. It's a very rare technique. I've only seen it done a couple of times. You two are truly amazing. Turles would say thank you, as then he would charge a ki blast straight into his face, but it did nothing. As Beerus would grab Turles and start to spank him. That's what you get for disrespecting me at the beginning. As Beerus started to spank him, Kakarot would show up and punch Beerus. Kakarot and Turles gave it everything they had. But that just wasn't enough. Beerus was simply too strong. As Beerus would knock them back down to his planet, he would walk up to him. Well, it seemed like I won. Since I no longer need you, I can erase you. He began to charge Hakai. As then he stopped charging. Just kidding. You two are fun. You want to have some food now? Kakarot and Turles would look at each other, as then they would begin to eat with Beerus. As they were eating, we cut to Majin Buu. Majin Buu was still tucked in the time chamber, as he has been training for years and years and years on end. As he would start to scream, tired of his life, tired of things that are going on, and tired what is happening. Ah! As suddenly a portal would open up. As Buu would say, that's all I needed to do this whole time? Damn it! As then he would walk through the portal, going back into our dimension. Majin Buu was excited to finally be back, away from that place, a place where he can have candy, a place where he can destroy planets, but most importantly, a place where he can get his revenge. As then he would teleport to his son. He would burn up and die, but he was immortal, as he was able to grab a King Piccolo and teleport out. As King Piccolo looked up at him, he said, who the hell are you? He said, doesn't matter who I am. I have Vegeta inside of me. I decided you paid your debt. King Piccolo says, you need my help for revenge? No. Go do whatever you want. I think it'll be more fun if I do it alone. As then he floated out into space. As King Piccolo looked up angry, he was left in a star to burn. And even Vegeta, or whatever the hell that guy was,
left him. King Piccolo would get his revenge. King Piccolo becomes stronger than anyone could ever dream of.
Majin Buu escaped. He could sense an interesting key. Since he absorbed the Supreme Kai long ago, Majin Buu could actually sense God Ki, but he couldn't believe he sensed it from Turles and Kakarot. How did they achieve such power? He decided to hide his power level and try to go towards them and watch. As he landed on their capital planet, he saw them both training in a blue form. As their hair was blue, they began to push each other further and further, going beyond what they thought was possible. Majin Buu was impressed. He didn't know they could reach such power. He didn't know how. But as he was looking around, suddenly someone would walk up behind him. It was Beerus. As he said, "Can I help you?" He turned around. As he saw Beerus, he would say, "Beerus, I... Suddenly, memories of Beerus would flutter in from the Supreme Kai he absorbed. As he said, "Are you going to erase me?" "No. I don't even know who you are." He would say, "I'm Majin Buu." "Oh, you're that guy who made my job easier. I'm not going to erase you. Why are you here?" "To fight them." That could be entertaining. You know what? I'll watch." "Really?" "Yeah." "Thank you. You're welcome. Now, go off and fight them before I change my mind and destroy you," Beerus would say, as Majin Buu would sigh and start to fly. As Majin Buu flew up to them both, Turles would look and say, "Hey, you're Buu, but how? How did you get out? And where's Vegeta?" Majin Buu would smirk and laugh. "I absorbed Vegeta and took all of his powers, all of his instinct, and more. I even took his need for revenge, to destroy you all, to get the revenge that I crave, the revenge that I need. And I managed to get out through screaming. You see, after years and years of being in that wretched place, having no one to talk to, no candy to eat, no one to play with, I eventually became insane until I just fell down to the floor and screamed at the top of my lungs. I screamed at the world around me. I screamed at this universe. And I screamed at this dimension, this cruel, cruel dimension, as suddenly a portal opened up. And that's how I got back here. And even with your God Ki, you're no match for me. Years of training in that chamber has made me more powerful than ever." You've also become a chatterbox. I mean, did you talk this much before? Super would say, "Shut up. If you want to fight, just fight me already." Turles and Kakarot look at each other and go, "Alright, but who goes first?" As suddenly, they'll both play rock, paper, scissors for it. This would piss off Super Buu more, as he would say, "Really, you're gonna play a stupid game to see who fights me first? You should both fight me at once. I am the ultimate being." Turles says, "Well, you can't be that strong since we unlocked God Ki." They kept on doing it again and again and again, after tie after tie after tie, until eventually Kakarot would win and he would get to fight Majin Buu, as suddenly he would stretch. Now, finally, a good fight. Super Buu would say, "I can't believe you don't take me seriously." As then he would shoot a candy beam at him, and he would barely be able to dodge, as he would charge in and punch him. Even with his blue form, Super Buu was extremely powerful. Super Buu had great strength, great speed, great ki control, and many other techniques, which made him a force to be reckoned with. Even with God Ki discovered, Super Buu would start to demolish Kakarot, start to beat him up. As Turles would jump in, he would kick him back. "Oh, what's the matter? I thought you played rock, paper, scissors to see who gets to fight me first. You're not excited to fight me anymore? Well, that's what you get for mocking me, Majin Buu." As Turles would say, "Shut up, Buu. I have a trick up my sleeves." Majin Buu would look at him and said, "Oh, what's that? I think you're bluffing." As then we cut to Whis and Beerus. As they were watching, Whis would look over and say, "Is he bluffing?" Beerus would say, "No, well, kinda. There's something new he's been trying, but he doesn't know if he can unlock it yet. Well, if any time's a good time, it's now." Whis would say, "What's that?" "He told me about it. It's some sort of new form, beyond blue." As then Majin Buu would punch Turles straight to the floor. As he got up, he began to scream as the ground shook. As the entire ground shook, Turles' hair turned a much darker blue, as his eyes turned more dilated, as he grew muscle across his body, as he looked and began to stare straight into Majin Buu's eyes. Not a single word was spoken between them as they walked closer and closer and closer, as then they both punched each other at the same time, just to get up. Majin Buu would say, "That actually hurt a bit, good job." Turles would say, "A bit? Huh. I'll show you pain you never felt before in your entire life." As then, they both started to go at it. They both started to battle each other.
as Kakarot looked up and began to shake, ashamed that he didn't reach this new form, ashamed he didn't know about Blue Evolution. But he had to make up for it, and he had an idea how to. Kakarot just left and run off training. As Majin Buu looked at it and said, "You're leaving already?" Kakarot looked and say, "Yeah, you're not as strong as you think, Buu. Honestly, we got you taken care of. We know something you don't." Majin Buu would look at him and say, "Shut up. You don't know anything. Buu is strongest there is, and I'm going to kill you." As he would charge the Ki Blast, Turles would punch him, saying, "I'm your opponent." As Majin Buu looked at it and says, "Why do you do this, Turles? Even with that form, you know I'm much stronger. You know I'm holding back. I've been training in that time changer for years. I'm just toying with you to get a new fight. No matter what you do, you'll never be able to defeat me." Turles began to laugh and say, "You don't know, do you? Good." As then Super Buu said, "Shut up. You think you can beat me with some sort of bluff? You're not gonna fool me. I don't care what you say. You're bluffing." As they both charged at each other, they would then begin to punch, as the entire planet shook from their anger, shook from their battle, and shook from their power being released. As the shockwaves are so strong, they destroyed buildings, they destroyed trees, they destroyed everything around it, as each punch made the entire world shake. Eventually, Turles would stop fighting and say, "You know what, Majin Buu, you fought pretty well, but it's over." Majin Buu would say, "Shut up and fight me." As then Turles would walk up to him and go, "Spirit Fission." As Sensei he trained on Yard Rat, he would learn their techniques, and he would split Majin Buu into Vegeta and Kid Buu. Kid Buu would look around, intense with anger and passion, as then he would try to destroy everything on the planet, but before he could, Turles would pick him up and throw him out into space, as then he launched him with a Ki attack, launched him straight into the sun, killing him. Meanwhile, Vegeta would start to run, trying to get away, but then Beerus would appear in front of him. Beerus would look at Vegeta and say, "Leaving so soon?" Vegeta would say, "Listen, I got absorbed. I didn't want to do any of this, Lord Beerus. Please don't." But then Beerus would touch his shoulder and say, "You know, Vegeta, I remember you when you were a kid. You were so full of pride and arrogance, but I put you in your place. Do you know why I did that?" Vegeta would look at him and say, "No, because you needed it, Vegeta. Mortals like you get all uppity. Just like you and Turles, Saiyans are nothing but an inferior race used to wipe out other races because of how barbaric and savage they are." Vegeta would look at him and say, "Shut up, I am the Prince of all Saiyans, a great race, a powerful race. We are not just savages." But then he realized who he yelled at and he said, "Oh shit, I'm dead, aren't I?" Beerus would look at him and say, "Yes, you are." Vegeta would say, "Please, I know you know a way probably to go through my immortality since you're a god of destruction, but don't do this, Beerus. Together we can work together. Together we can cleanse this universe. Together we can be the perfect duo." Beerus would laugh and say, "Duo, huh? A hard offer, but no, I'm pretty sure I could take care of things on their own." As suddenly Beerus would put his hand on Vegeta's head. Vegeta would try to struggle. He would try to blast back, but no matter what he did, it was worthless. As suddenly Beerus would simply say Akai, erasing his soul, going through the immortality. As then Kakarot would have left. He would go off to Yard Rat, where Turles was, to do mental training, try to push his mind further than anything else before. Kakarot's been pushing his body, but he's never really worked out his mind. He's never really pushed his brain, but he was going to now. At least not until now. As Kakarot eased into his meditation, we cut to King Piccolo. King Piccolo will be on planet Cereal, as suddenly Granola would show up behind him. "What are you doing here?" King Piccolo looked behind and said, "I need the Dragon Balls to unlock my potential here. And I have a feeling that you know where they are." Granola would say, "I have a hunch of where they are, but I don't know the exact location. Why would I help you, though? Because you want revenge on the Saiyans, and so do I. It seems we have a common goal." Granola would begin to think about it, but he would agree, and soon they would team up to wipe out the Saiyans. We cut to King Piccolo. King Piccolo would look at Granola, as Granola looked at him, and said, "If you help me, we'll get our revenge together. If I could just unlock my potential, I can reach a power never seen before." Granola would say, "Why don't I just take the power for myself?" King Piccolo looked at him and said, "Simple, really. You're not good enough to defeat them, but I am."
Granola would get mad and begin to blast a ki blast at him, but King Piccolo would be way stronger in this timeline since he absorbed a bunch of his kin before he came here, shooting them out and absorbed them again and again like an infinite power boost. But even that wouldn't be enough. He needed to compete with this God Ki, and he knew it. King Piccolo needed to get much stronger. As Granola looked at him, they began to battle each other. And Granola was actually a pretty good martial artist. He stayed far away, he kept his distance, and he always tried to hit Piccolo in his pressure points. However, it wasn't enough. Eventually, Piccolo would win, and Granola would look up and say, "Fine, you're the better fighter. Let's get our revenge." As they would search for days on end, eventually they would find the last Dragon Ball, as they gathered the two and summoned the dragon. As Piccolo wished to have his potential unlocked, the dragon looked at it and said, "Alright, but you'll have to make a deal." "A deal? You don't just grant wishes?" "No, I don't. For your potential to be unlocked, you're going to have to sacrifice a part of yourself, a part which you like." "What does that mean?" As Pirongo looked, he said, "You're going to have to give up your immortality." Piccolo looked, and he knew he'd be vulnerable if he did this, but if his potential was unlocked, he'd be way stronger than them. And besides, without his immortality, he wouldn't be able to do much anyway with it. I mean, if he was immortal but wasn't stronger, they could just knock him into the sun again. And Akayam, of course he didn't know about that last part, so he agreed to give up his immortality to unlock his potential. As suddenly the ground began to shake and his skin turned orange. Piccolo would smirk as he was ready to get his revenge. As that was going on, we cut to Turles. Turles would be training with Whis. As suddenly, as Whis tried to hit him, he would dodge it without thinking, but then he would get hit right after that. Whis would smile and say, "It seems you're trying to learn how I move. You remember what I said, right?" Turles would say, "Yes, to fight and move without thinking. That is the goal." Kakarot would say, "That's stupid. A true martial artist thinks with each strike. They think what each blow will do." Whis would say, "Maybe, but mindless movement can work very well too." "If you really don't want to do this, Kakarot, then there's really only one other technique you can learn that's similar to it, but quite the opposite at the same time." Kakarot would say, "Really, what's that?" Beerus would walk in and say, "Ultra Ego." As Kakarot would look and say, "What? Ultra Ego? That's the technique. It relies on your rage and power, and the more damage you take, the more damage you give. It turns you into a god of destruction, at least the power-wise. You see, I use Ultra Ego every time I fight. That's what gives me my strength. That's what gives me my power. And you can use it too, but it will take a lot of hard work. Are you ready?" Kakarot would look up at him and nod and say, "Yes, I'm ready to learn." As Kakarot would start to learn from Beerus, Turles would learn from Whis. As Whis was trained to get Ultra Instinct and Kakarot was trained to get Ultra Ego, they seemed to be working to different goals. But even though they wanted different techniques, they both wanted the same thing: power. Unlimited power. However, little did they know that a new threat was coming, a threat that they were going to need all the power they could handle to defeat. As they went away from Beerus' planet, they would go back to their capital world, as they would oversee their empire. Things have been boring. There has been rebels and fighters and things like that, but they're so strong they're easily able to crush it. They are nothing to them. They are emperors. They are like gods that rule over a bunch of tiny, pathetic ants. But suddenly a spaceship would land. As they felt a huge power level walk out, they began to shake. They were surprised. Of course, they could probably handle it with their God Key. They flew in and saw King Piccolo, and there was a guy beside him. Turles would say, "How did you get out?" King Piccolo would say, "Majin Buu brought me out. After that, I planned my revenge. I've become so powerful, there's no way you can defeat me." As then, Granola would smirk as he managed to pull out his blaster ready to snipe them. As Kakarot said, "You have gotten strong, but you don't know about God Key, do you?" As he turned blue, King Piccolo would laugh and say, "I do know. Majin Buu told me more than you think." As suddenly, King Piccolo would turn orange. As suddenly, Kakarot and Turles would begin to shake. What is that power?" As they both turned to blue, Kakarot would go blue evolution, so would Turles. as Orange Piccolo would say, "Oh, you evolved your little pathetic form of blue." Doesn't matter. Let's see what's stronger, blue or orange. As suddenly he would stretch out his arm and grab them both and knock them both in the head. As he battled them both, he would keep them far away from Granola, as he would start to snipe them in their pressure points. Kakarot and Turles knew this couldn't go on like this forever, so he decided to stall. Kakarot knew that Piccolo loved to talk about himself. If he could distract him long enough, maybe they can fully master their techniques. It's a long shot, but it's the only shot they have. Kakarot would say, "Well, what are you going to do after this, once you kill me?" King Piccolo would laugh and say, "What kind of a stupid question is that? I'm going to take over this universe, and I will rule it. I've always meant to rule it. Ever since you met me, I've been under you. And ever since I stopped being under you, you've always found a way to defeat me. It ends here. I am the great King Piccolo, and I will not lose to you. I will not bow down to your kind." As suddenly as Piccolo would try to punch Turles, he would move out of the way without thinking. His eyes closed as he began to move so smoothly, began to move purely on instinct. This shocked Piccolo. "What the hell are you doing?" Kakarot began to laugh. "You did it, didn't you, father? He's unlocked a form that the angels use, a form where you can move and fight without thinking. Ultra Instinct." As King Piccolo began to fight Turles, he actually started to lose. This pissed him off as he said, "No, no, no! I gave up my immortality for this. I gave up everything for this. I refuse to lose!" As suddenly, King Piccolo would turn giant to try to intimidate them as he shot a massive mouth blast at them. But Turles would simply deflect the blast, fly up, and kick Piccolo down to the ground. As then, Turles started to win. This pissed King Piccolo off. He fought so hard. He tried so hard, but no matter what he did, he could never win. This pissed him off more than anything ever before. King Piccolo started to remember everything, how they made him work under him, how he trained with them, how he fought with them, and most of all, how he was humiliated by them. Suddenly, as Kakarot was distracted, Granola would grab him and hold him tight. As he said, "Let me go, no!" As suddenly he began to yell, everything began to shake. As Kakarot said, "What are you doing, blowing myself up, killing you? I may not be able to win this battle, but at least I'll take a Saiyan with me!" As before he blew up, suddenly Kakarot was pushed to the limits as his hair turned purple. As he turned Ultra Ego, he would then punch him and then blow him up, killing Granola. As then Ultra Ego Kakarot and Ultra Instinct Turles both ganged up on Piccolo. As Piccolo eventually just fell to the floor and began to cry, "It's not fair! It's not fair! I was the strongest on Earth! I should be the strongest! I should rule the universe! Not you! It's not fair!" Kakarot would then smirk and begin to laugh. "You're nothing but a slug man, a worthless being compared to the true might of the Saiyan race. You know what else is not fair? Not having an afterlife." As suddenly Kakarot would Akai him, erasing King Piccolo. As Turles and Kakarot looked at each other, they smirked, achieving a new form. As then Beerus would walk up to them both. "Nicely done. Now it's time I choose one of you to be the next god of destruction." But we have time for that. Turles and Kakarot would go train on Beerus' plan. They would compete to become the new god of destruction. Who won? It didn't matter. No matter who won the title, Turles and Kakarot would still be together. They were thick as thieves. And this was the journey of Turles and Kakarot, and how they took over the universe and defeated King Piccolo and defeated everyone that stood in their way, and eventually became gods themselves. And that is going to end this series off.